Hillary Clinton is an individual that embodies everything that is wrong with the Democratic Party. Not only is she corrupt and pretentious, but she doesn't stand for anything she purports to stand for. And this week, really, again, she showed to us that she doesn't stand up for the values she claims to stand up for, because when she was giving a speech to the class of 2018 at Yale, she made another statement about democracy, and I'll tell you why she doesn't care as much about democracy as she says she does here.
I still think about the 2016 election. I still regret the mistakes I made. I still think, though, that understanding what happened in such a weird and wild election in American history will help us defend our democracy in the future. Whether you're right, left, center, Republican, Democrat, independent, vegetarian, whatever. We all have a stake in that. So today, as a person, I'm okay, but as an American, I'm concerned. Now, I see, looking out at you, that you are following the tradition of over-the-top hats. So I brought a hat, too. A Russian hat. Can't beat them, join them.
That made me cringe so hard, it literally sent shudders down my spine. I kid you not. Nobody can make me cringe as hard as Hillary Clinton can. She has a unique talent there. Now, she is claiming here to care about the sanctity of democracy, and I find that hilarious because she literally perpetrated one of the biggest frauds our country has ever seen by rigging the primary against Bernie Sanders in 2016. And she also hasn't spoken about how the ballots were illegally destroyed in the race between Tim Canova and Debbie Wasserman Schultz. And she remains silent as the DNC and the DCCC continues to stack the deck against progressive candidates across the country. So if you truly care about democracy, then why wouldn't you call out these violations of democracy? I mean, if you have a lot of power and influence within your own party, if they really take what you say at face value and they respect you, wouldn't you put your desire to protect democracy at use by telling the Democratic Party establishment that they should do more to reinforce our trust in them after they just squandered it? And they continue to do so? I mean, I don't really understand how you can claim to care about democracy, but ignore everything the Democratic Party continues to do to undermine that value. Superdelegates. Closed primaries. Hillary, you literally took control of the DNC before you won the nomination. You don't care about democracy, Hillary, but the reason why I'm talking about this is because other Democrats don't care about democracy as well. Tom Perez was parading around recently, a couple of weeks ago, talking about his desire to protect democracy, but he hasn't called out any of these things. He claims that he's suing WikiLeaks and Donald Trump and Russia for meddling in the 2016 election, but he's not saying anything about how the Democratic Party establishment is meddling in elections across the country between progressives and establishment Democrats. Also, another issue Democrats have that Hillary Clinton embodies is evident in this report from The Hill. Hillary Clinton will endorse New York Governor Andrew Cuomo for re-election in the Democratic primary, according to a report in the New York Times, a decision likely to anger liberals backing actress Cynthia Nixon's progressive campaign. Now, I can assure you that this angers absolutely no one on the progressive left. In fact, I think that your endorsement of Andrew Cuomo is actually beneficial for Cynthia Nixon because it shows just how big of an establishment insider Andrew Cuomo is, as if anyone needed more evidence of that. But if you were to endorse Cynthia Nixon, that would hurt her, because it would make it seem as though she is the one that's the establishment insider, but you kind of make it even more clear that she's the progressive we should be watching in this race, we should be voting for and supporting. But the problem inherent with her endorsement of Andrew Cuomo over Cynthia Nixon, well, I'll let Madeleine Albright explain why it's a problem.
Just remember, there's a special place in hell for women who don't help each other.
Ah, that's right. So this is how weaponizing identity politics has come back to bite Democrats in the ass. They like to talk the talk, and they like to claim that they care about getting women elected and people of color elected, but when push comes to shove, they always side with the establishment candidate. And I'm not suggesting that you should back someone just based on their identity, but this is what they imply is a way that we should be voting. And when we don't vote the way that they want us to vote, if there is an opportunity to smear us, then they will take that opportunity. In fact, this is what they did against Keith Ellison when he was running against Tom Perez to be the next DNC chair. Well, how did they smear him? They said he was anti-Semitic because of his support for the Palestinian people. The same tactic was used to gin up excitement for the Californian Democratic Party chairman, Eric Bauman, who's openly gay, and they're using that to distract you from the fact that Kimberly Ellis was cheated. So establishment Democrats do this all the time, and Hillary Clinton is clearly showing that she's no exception. They weaponize identity politics as a means of smearing progressives, but they never adhere to the same principles they espouse. So Hillary Clinton is showing how Democrats are hypocritical here with her endorsement of Andrew Cuomo. But here's another thing that Hillary Clinton is doing that establishment Democrats do as well. So they know that progressive policies are incredibly popular, so what have they done? They've co-opted the language that progressives use to talk about progressive policies, while simultaneously rejecting all of those policies unequivocally. Case in point, Tom Perez always talks about how healthcare is a right, but then he'll only claim that guaranteeing access to healthcare is the party's ultimate goal, not guaranteeing healthcare itself. And now Hillary Clinton is doing the same sort of thing where she steals the rhetoric that progressives use. And what's Hillary Clinton now saying? We are going to take back the country we love. But let me ask you this, Hillary, who are you taking the country back from? Specifically because you're part of the elite class that helped ruin the country. Your ilk, that is corporate establishment Democrats, they're still in control of the DNC, of the Democratic Party. Corporate Democrats are still in leadership positions, so who are you taking the country back from specifically? Well, as Mary Alice Park explains, former Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton acknowledged Friday that Democratic candidates around the country still face basic questions about what they stand for and which policies their party supports. Speaking at a Democratic Women's Leadership Forum in Washington, D.C., Clinton urged party leaders to return to the basics and lay out the party's values for voters: fair wages, the absolute promise of universal health care, public school funding, gun safety reform, and equal pay were at the top of the former First Lady's agenda items that she thought should stay central to the Democratic Party's platform. Okay, so she's not even talking about taking the country back from Republicans, which is what you might have suspected from that headline. She's saying that we need to advocate for universal health care now all of a sudden? But what happened to this?
Health emergencies can't wait for us to have some theoretical debate about some better idea that will never, ever come to pass.
So do you see the problem? We will never know what Democrats stand for because they will say anything in order to get elected. And I get it, that's what politicians are supposed to do because they care about winning. They only care about their electoral prospects. But if you truly care about winning, then you have to be at least somewhat consistent so we take you seriously when you say you stand for something. But Hillary Clinton is really a microcosm of a broader issue facing the Democratic Party. They say one thing when really they mean another. And can you guess who introduced Hillary Clinton at this event? Of course, it was DNC chairman Tom Perez. So in short, Democrats just can't quit the Clintons, but they should, because Hillary Clinton embodies everything voters dislike about the Democratic Party. So if they truly want to win, and I'm not sure that they do want to win, I really am not, just based on their actions, but if they truly want to win, they should abandon Clintonism and actually opt for progressivism, populism, support policies that a majority of the American people agree with. Medicare for all, tuition-free public colleges and universities. Hell, do something really bold. Come out and say unequivocally, if you elect Democrats, we will cancel student loan debt. Do you know how many millennials would come out and vote for Democrats if you did that? So they have to leave behind Clintonism. But see, Hillary Clinton is emblematic of the Democratic Party's biggest issues. She doesn't stand for anything. She says one thing and does another. She doesn't adhere to the principles and the philosophy that she espouses herself, and it's problematic. It's hurting them. They need to stop. They need to embrace progressivism.
Support this podcast by becoming a patron at patreon.com/Humanist Report.